Radio Winchester studios, airing out the beef and settling the score. It's time for Where's the Beef Wednesday on Franklin County's favorite morning show. The starting lineup, fueled by Loco Coffee. And now for your hosts, Joe Abraham and Chewy.
And good morning, and welcome into the starting lineup, ESPN Radio 1340, 1069, WCDT Winchester. I am Joe Abraham, along with Chewy in the yet-to-be-named Wookiee box. The
terrarium.
The Wookiee-torium. The terrarium.
Ooh, Wookiee-torium's kind of awesome.
Yeah, it's kind of like when you go to the zoo and they put the monkeys in a box. That's kind of what it is. Along with Chewy, I am Joe Abraham. We got the humpback swamp donkey, Ricky Tips, in studio with us this morning. The three of us all kind of have the same look of exhaustion, I think, on our faces, or at least on our souls. Chewy seems more relieved than anything.
Yeah.
Because from a technology
What are you relieved from, Chewy?
We don't have to prepare for another debate again.
For a week at least.
For a week, yeah.
From a technology standpoint, he gets the most anxiety from just hopefully everything works. And it did yesterday pretty much. We had some audio issues early on where it was a little bit quiet, but we got that pumped up for people to hear and hear a little bit better, a little bit clearer. And I thought for the most part that it went off fairly well. Ricky did a good job keeping everybody on track. They got through the questions fairly quickly. It only took us about an hour. And for you, if you didn't get a chance to view the sheriff's debate, it is online now. And even if you did, I recommend that you go back and watch it again. There was some really interesting conversation. And Jenna did a good job running the clock even.
She did, yeah.
Me, I did nothing. I sat and I did nothing.
You were monitoring. You were moderating,
Yeah.
You did a pretty decent job.
I brought the waters, which nobody drank.
I drank, but I drink. I just destroyed mine.
I just hope you took notes so you know what to do next Thursday night.
Yeah, I do now, thanks to you. It is a Where's the Beef Wednesday presented by the folks at Max Meat Processing. We appreciate them for sponsoring each and every Wednesday. And I tell you what, it was a very revealing night, very interesting night. First off, I want to thank all three of the candidates who came out: Sheriff Tim Fuller, Troy Parsons Jr., Charles Keller. All three of them I appreciate coming in and answering questions. And whether you agreed or not with them, they put themselves out there. They put themselves in front of the voters, and that's what we asked for. That's what the elections are supposed to be about. Ricky, I appreciate you for stepping in and moderating. I am fairly certain that Charles would not have been here if it was not for you moderating, because there were a lot of questions asked about me and whether or not I could do it and keep it fair and all the things. And I thought you kept it moving. Like I said, you asked some really good questions. And I don't want to go through necessarily this morning and crown a winner, but I'd like to go back and talk about some of the notes from the debate. I spent preparing for today. I was up till like 2:00 in the morning.
No, I was not.
I got the transcript. I ran it through the transcript. I've watched the thing probably 3 times at least.
Wow.
At least. And I went through and...
Did I get better every time?
Huh?
Did I get better every time?
You were on point. You couldn't have gotten better. You were on point the whole time through. There were some answers that got better. There were some answers that I heard that got worse from some of the candidates. But no, I went back and, I wanted to be prepped to have the discussion this morning and talk about basically what we
So-
heard, what we saw.
I'm curious. Did you put the transcript into Chat GPT to ask?
No, ChatGPT. Well, I did it initially. Are you talking about after I got the transcript?
Yeah.
Okay. So initially, I was like, "Chat, can you transcribe this video?" Yes, I can. And then it kicked it back out, and it was like, "Well, actually, I don't want to overpromise." And it was like, "But if you put in audio," I was like, "Okay, let me do that." Yes, I can. Oh, well, actually, I can't. And so finally, I had to go through a third-party app. I got the transcript.
Good. Yeah. Okay.
Long story short, and then I put it into chat.
Yeah,
And I asked it what its thoughts were. Is that what you're asking?
that's what I'm asking.
Hey, by the way, I did want to say that Brett is also in the chat this morning.
So I did stick it into chat. Let me scroll down and go to it.
So did Lambo.
Good morning, guys. All right, so chat gave a lot of feedback. I'm gonna have to scroll all the way up here because the transcript is
9,000 pages long.
Yeah, I gotta find where it popped out. So through the first portion of it, because that was the other thing. The transcript was so long, I even had to upload the transcript in separate pieces. Where is this thing? Anyway, all right. As I'm scrolling up, I initially, and I don't know if you guys got this thought as well. My initial response was based on like their presence, just sitting here and being so caught up in making sure everything was going well. I didn't really get a chance to listen to their answers. I was more concerned. I had like the Chewy anxiety. I was more concerned that the thing was going off without a hitch and that we didn't have any technology issues and things like that. But before we get into, breaking it down, I think that Charles Keller, just to start off with, was the best speaker last night. I think that he was from a clarity standpoint, from a directness standpoint, I think that he was the best. And that was one of the things that chat did spit out, was it talked about how at times Tim Fuller, Sheriff Fuller, would go down little side streets, kind of ramble a little bit on some things. But it gave me some insight as to their answers and the quality of their answers. And that's where Tim and Charles kind of diverged. So while it gave Charles the nod for presentation, it gave Tim the nod for substance within his answers, which I thought was interesting. Man, I am still scrolling up.
Hey, Chewy, you gotta speak loud because I ain't got headphones.
Oh, okay.
What'd you think last night?
I was number one. I was surprised that all the candidates came. I was glad that they did. I got cold feet right at the last second, and I was like, oh no, what if nobody shows up? You know what I mean? Or what if something happens? So when they all came in, like I really relaxed. But I will say this: the questions that were asked last night and how they were answered it influenced the way I was going to vote. So, because I was still, like I said yesterday, I was up in the air until the debate. I was saving it for the debate, basically, because I was only getting sort of a surface level understanding of them through social media and stuff like that. And last night, the answers were given in a way for me to be like, okay, I think that's how I'm going to vote.
So I'm not going to ask you how you're going to vote, but I do want to ask what swayed you.
Their personal beliefs in the way they basically profess them. Does it make sense?
Okay.
Their character more than their answers.
Yeah, Chewy and I talked about it afterwards, and I would say their humanity, like
Yeah.
how they were able to portray their humanity. Okay,
Yeah.
so I finally found what I was looking for.
Okay, cool.
Sorry it took so long.
97 days later.
Yeah, no, the funny thing is, it's not even at the top; it's in the middle. All right, so it went through and it scored them. Again, this is based on the transcript. It scored them based on different categories. So the first category, experience and credibility, it gave Tim Fuller a 10, Charles Keller an 8.5, and Troy Parsons Jr. a 6. answered the actual question. It gave Tim Fuller an 8.5. It gave Charles Keller a 7.5, and it gave Troy Parsons a 7. Speaking ability, it gave Tim Fuller a 7. It gave Charles Keller a 9, and it gave Troy Parsons Jr. a 6.5. Policy specifics, it gave Tim Fuller a 9, Charles Keller a 6.5, Troy Parsons Jr. a 6. Command of facts, it gave Tim Fuller a 9, Charles Keller a 7, and Troy a 6. Leadership presentation, it gave Tim an 8, it gave Charles a 9, and it gave Troy a 7. Overall debate performance, it gave Tim an 8.6, Charles an 8.4, and Troy a 6.9. Now, this was the audio transcript based off of what was actually said, not their mannerisms, not how they presented it and all the things. It also graded them afterwards, and it spit out that it believed Tim Fuller got an A minus. Said that he believes, or chat believes, that Tim won on substance, and his biggest weakness is that he is not a polished debater. He rambles, and sometimes he takes 90 seconds to answer what should take 30 seconds. For Charles Keller, it gave him a B+, and it said that he is polished, he is concise, he rarely rambles, he speaks like somebody who has rehearsed, and that matters. Once you analyze his answers a little bit, they become weaker. And we can talk about that a little bit, but it says that he often replaces specifics. There was a lot of slogans. And then for Troy Parsons Jr., it gave him a C+. It said, I actually think Troy exceeded expectations. He showed compassion. He wasn't combative. But it believes that he is simply not ready yet. And so that is how chat saw it. What's interesting about that as well is, and this is the scary part, the new AI stuff has access to AI models, has access to Facebook and social media and stuff, and went to their Facebook page, went to Facebook and researched them.
Oh my gosh.
So as far as Troy Parsons Jr. exceeding expectations and stuff like that, it went and it found out information. I didn't put anything in except for the transcript. It went and it knew that Sheriff Tim Fuller had been in office for 20 years. It knew that Charles Keller was the head of the Huntland Department. It knew about Troy Parsons Jr. It was scary. Anyway, when we come back, we'll talk a little.
Skynet's taking over.
Yeah, it's creepy. When we come back, we'll talk a little bit more about it. We're off and running. We got to hit the first break here. It is the starting lineup. Get into the FMO Facebook feed. Let us know what you think. This is ESPN Radio 1340, 1069 WCDT Winchester.
Now, here's your ESPN Radio Winchester weather forecast. Brought to you by our official Smile partner, Dr. Garrett Orr and Winchester Family Dentistry.
More wet weather headed your way today with a 50% chance of showers and thunderstorms, mainly after 1 p.m. Areas of fog in the early morning. Otherwise, partly sunny with a high of 86 degrees today and some calm winds coming in from around 5 miles per hour. Get out there and stay tuned to ESPN Radio Winchester for all of your wet weather updates.
At ESPN Radio Winchester, we're proud to welcome Winchester Family Dentistry and Dr. Garrett Orr as our official Smile partner. From routine cleanings and family dental care to helping you feel confident about your smile, Winchester Family Dentistry is committed to caring for patients with comfort, professionalism, and a hometown touch. Whether you're due for a checkup or looking for a dental team you can trust, call Dr. Garrett Orr and Winchester Family Dentistry, proud smile partner of ESPN Radio Winchester.
There was an outline for today's show, but it didn't survive the opening segment. Back to Joe and Chewy on the starting lineup right here on ESPN Radio 1340 1069 WCDT Winchester.
Back here on the starting lineup, ESPN Radio 1340, 1069, WCDT Winchester. Joe Abraham, Chewy, the Humpback Swamp Donkey. It is a Where's the Beef Wednesday. And, yeah, Brett jumping into chat. We already mentioned it. Lambo in there as well. Jim Grind. Lambo will say, oh, yeah, leg day. He's got to stay beefy. He also brings the beef. Best smash burgers in FC at the Huntland Co-op tonight at 4 p.m. Leslie jumping in the chat. I stand behind Charles Keller. He cares about our community. It's time for a change. Andrew Woodcock jumping in as well. Brenda jumping in. Thank you to all of you guys for getting involved in the conversation this morning. All right. So shifting gears from what the AI said to what the human beings like to say. I think that was my initial reaction, and it was a lot of people's initial reaction watching the thing in real time. Charles Keller looked really impressive, and the AI said it. You know, he didn't ramble. He was concise, and he kept coming back to certain themes, running it like a business. I love that. I think that all government should kind of continually analyze their budgets. I hate when you set a number, when you set a budget number, like what is the thing where they don't reduce the number? It just always stays that number. It doesn't like go backwards necessarily, or it's really hard for it to go backwards. It'll go up, but it doesn't go down.
The maintenance of effort.
That. Accountability, the technology. He looked prepared. And that was my initial reaction to it. Now, that doesn't necessarily mean as you dive into it that he gave the best answers, though. And that's where I'm interested to hear your thoughts, your opinions on it, Ricky, because in the moment, I completely felt like Charles won the debate, so to speak. You know, everybody watches these things and they want to see, you know, who came out with the best performance. After going back and listening to each of their answers, I felt like Tim had the most substance within his responses. Doesn't mean that Tim was the best speaker. I just said that. It means that when I got into the facts of the responses, aside from him rambling at times, I felt like he had the most facts within and the most answers, solid answers overall.
Well, he's going to. He's been in this position 20 years.
Right.
So when it comes to the sheriff's department, there's nothing you can teach Tim Fuller about being a sheriff. Like, he's done this.
Yeah. And
he's done this at the highest level.
In terms of, you know, law enforcement just in general, you know, this is a guy that's probably forgot more about law enforcement than, and he's been in it longer than Troy Parsons has been alive, but he's probably forgotten more about it than Troy Parsons Jr. knows.
Yeah. So, I mean, that's the thing. Like, you got to give him, when it comes to that aspect of it, Tim's going to give you better answers, better quality answers, because he has been in the position. You know, that's why if you look at some of the questions last night, you had to break them down where the topic is the same, but the question's different between the candidates because the other two hadn't been in that position yet to be able to answer that question.
Right.
So that was coming up with questions to try to stay as even as you can be with the three candidates.
Yeah.
You know, that was difficult.
Yeah. Because their level of experience or their where they're coming from varies so much. I think that one of the things, and to your point, that I found myself asking in the responses from both Parsons and Keller was a little bit of wondering, well, how are you going to do that? You know, when you say you're going to run it like a business, get a little bit more into the specifics. And I think I know what he means as far as just being diligent in the numbers and being, you know, operating efficiently, wanting to operate efficiently. We all know the challenges that face government spending and things like that. But then there were other things talking about accountability. They all mentioned, and we asked one question about the accountability. How would you? They all mentioned GPS. You know, they all mentioned that, but then none of them really got into answering the question well. That was one that they all kind of swung and missed on. in my opinion. But again, I don't know if when we're talking about, I mean, let's go to question one, talking about operating. I think that it was management philosophy was question one, and how you're going to lead the deputies, lead the staff. Management philosophy, they each kind of hit on different things, and their theme throughout was interesting. So for Fuller, he leaned into his experience, and then he got down the rabbit hole of how his experience has led him to be able to make quick leadership decisions and all of those types of things. For Troy Parsons Jr., it was very much morale-based. It was very much having conversations with people and leading by example. Him and Fuller both mentioned leading by example. And for Charles, it was putting people in the right seats, making sure that they, have their questions answered by those people, and then being present. That was one of the big things that he mentioned, in that is being present. So each of them, again, coming at it from different angles, I just think that, per your point, it's folks' different flavors. People are going to like different answers. I can like one answer, you can like another, and Chewy can like the third. And I think that was the case all night.
I mean, going back to it, I felt if you listen to the debate, if you go back and listen to it again, you can really pick out, okay, this guy's a career officer. He's been doing this his entire life. This guy is a police officer who's also ran a successful business for multiple years. And then you got one that's, just cutting his teeth still. 5 years as a correction officer, 4 years as a patrol officer. He's still learning on the job. And I think those showed last night in the answers.
Yeah. Going back to, I guess, again, and what I'd like to do, I'd honestly like to go through a couple of questions one at a time and just kind of talk about the responses. Going back to that first one, what I would say is, again, Charles gave some principles, leadership principles, that he has executed, to your point, in the private sector. Tim gave his experience, and Troy didn't necessarily give a bad answer. It's just very generic. And he's done less in terms of leadership, I would say, because the guy's, 35, 36 years old, something like that? So it just is what it is. The second question of the night, how do you balance proactive policing with community trust? I think that this was one of the strongest answers of the night for Tim. This one there were parts of Charles' answers that I liked, but it was interesting. His answer was interesting on this one. So as far as Charles, I felt like he leaned a little bit heavily into Huntland, and he said something about targeting the right people in terms of how they police. And it came across to me not as profiling, but he said something about grandma driving down the road with her seatbelt off. And then later in the debate as well, he mentioned down in Huntland how, they'll pull people over, they'll got a little bit of marijuana on them, they pour it on the ground and they stomp it out and that type of thing. That's been the concern with Charles from an experience standpoint here as of late throughout the whole debate, or throughout the whole process, is it's not Huntland. And to go around and run a county of 45,000 people the same way that you would of 800 is where there's a little bit of disconnect. What were your thoughts on that one?
So personally, I liked it. And I may actually talk to somebody this morning about it because they said the same thing. And I said, I like the answer. I don't think someone should have their life ruined over a petty drug charge. Like, I don't have an issue with that at all. One, I don't think marijuana should be illegal anyways. So I've made that very clear throughout the years. But I don't have an issue with that at all. I think, protecting and serving is the job of a law enforcement officer. And sometimes I think that serving is giving someone a second chance. Like, I just think some of these things, it's common sense.
Right.
To be honest with you. And I think you should give these officers a little bit of wiggle room on things like that. Cause that is something that, if it's Chewy who's got 17 possession charges and you pull him over, then yeah, you take him in for that 18th charge.
Right.
Because he is habitually doing it. He's not trying to clean up his act.
Chewy's like, why me?
Because he doesn't clean up.
But here's my problem with that. To that point is, well, how do you document that? It's one thing in a county or in a town of 800 people where you can kind of know everybody and know who you're dealing with. But if you've got one officer that
you don't think that gets talked about?
Again, 45,000 people.
You don't think that gets talked about amongst the officers?
Right. But there's no documentation saying, well, we pulled him over last week. And here's the thing. Is if I pulled you over last week and stomped out the marijuana, and then I pull you over this week and you got marijuana again, and now I take you to jail for it.
Okay. So what's the difference if they pulled you over doing 44 on the boulevard,
right,
and a 30? They let you go. Give you a warning. For, slow down next time. You broke the law.
Yeah.
You're speeding. That's against the law.
Right.
So what's the difference?
That's a good question.
And how do how do they track that? How do they know that officer, slow it down, don't give you a warning this time. Well, that's your warning. How do they track that? How does every officer know that person, the next officer pulls you over for doing the same thing that didn't? How do they know?
Yeah. No, and I agree.
So, I mean, for me, that's the thing. Like, that's part of common sense law enforcement. Like, you can't just sit there. There's a book on how to be a cop. But there's also a little gray area in that, and that's where you use your judgment. We hire these people in here and expect them to make judgment calls.
Right.
And that's the thing. Like, you can't sit there and say, well, this crime's worse than that crime.
Well, but how do we know that the current law enforcement regime at the sheriff's department doesn't already do that to an extent?
I mean...
And I guess, too...
Did Fuller say they did last night?
No, I mean, we didn't really get into it with him in regard to that. And I guess what I'm saying is, does it scale? Especially when we're talking about, and they all identified drugs as the number one concern within the county, yet we're going to dump out drugs and... Yeah,
but you're not. Yeah, you're going to bust somebody that's smoking a little pot. That's not getting the person. That's not fixing the problem.
Right.
One, pot's not the problem. I don't think you need to get high and drive. Don't get me wrong on that one. I'm not saying that you should be impaired and drive a vehicle. But, Charles made a good point. We need to go after the players. The people who are actually selling these drugs.
Yeah, the dealers.
The people who are making these drugs. That's who we need to go after.
Yeah. That's going to be the biggest opportunity for leverage.
I thought that was a good comment he made on that.
Yeah.
Well, I don't remember exactly where he made it at, but it was somewhere throughout the night.
Jump in the FMO Facebook feed and let us know what you think. Chew, does anybody have thoughts on this specifically?
Let's see.
And this is what I love about it is we're watching the same debate, and Ricky and I have different opinions on the same answer. And that's the whole point of this process, is that people are going to believe different things based on this. They're going to hear the same answers and come away with different results.
We did have a few people in here, and we can look at them while we're in the break, and then when we'll jump back, we'll talk about them.
Okay, sounds good.
Because there's quite a few, actually.
Yeah. We appreciate you guys jumping in and chatting about it with us this morning. Let us know what you think. We'll talk about it more on the other side. One of the questions, like I said, that came up, the responses all revolved around GPS, even though that wasn't really necessarily what the question was about. Talk about that, too. It is the starting lineup on a Where's the Beef Wednesday, ESPN Radio Winchester.
To plan. Skip the stress and rent it instead at Reliable Rental in Winchester. From tools and heavy-duty machines to chairs, tables, and event essentials, they've got what you need to get the job done right. Whether it's work or a weekend celebration, Reliable Rental makes it easy. Stop by 2433 Deckard Boulevard in Winchester or check out everything they offer online at reliablerentalfc.com. Reliable Rental. When you need it, they've got it.
It's time for a local news break from the 931 Go News Center.
Tonight is the night all three candidates for Franklin County Sheriff will meet face-to-face in a live debate hosted by ESPN Radio Winchester. Incumbent Sheriff Tim Fuller, Charles Keller, and Troy Parsons Jr. will participate in the debate beginning at 6 p.m. The event will be broadcast live on ESPN Radio Winchester, 1340 AM, 106.9 FM, and streamed live on the station's Facebook page. The debate will give voters the opportunity to hear each candidate discuss the issues, answer questions, and share their vision for the future of Franklin County Sheriff's Office ahead of Election Day. Franklin County schools have officially opened online enrollment for the 2026-2027 school year. For students entering 1st through 12th grades, families registering a new student or updating returning student information can complete the process online by visiting fcstn.net. Pre-K and kindergarten students will continue using traditional paper enrollment forms. Enrollment kiosks will also be available every Wednesday in July from 8 a.m. to 4 p.m. at the Franklin County Board of Education for families needing computer access or assistance. The district says that the complete school calendar and other important back-to-school information are available on the Franklin County School District website and Facebook page. The University of Tennessee's Extension Office in Franklin County will host a special agricultural workshop Thursday, July 23rd from 9 a.m. to 1 p.m. at the Extension Office on Joyce Lane in Winchester. The program, titled Growing Through Challenges, will focus on soil health, drought-tolerant crops, grain and grazing systems, and USDA opportunities available to producers. Anyone interested in attending is asked to RSVP by contacting John Farrell at 931-967-2741 or by email at jfarrell@tnstate.edu. For details on these stories and more, visit 931go.com. Stay informed and stay connected to your community with ESPN Radio Winchester.
It's Larry Shelby, previously on the Paul Feinbaum Show.
You know what, Chris? Let me tell you something. Why don't you go catch your breath before commenting on somebody else's? And hacksaw Tuscaloosa Jim Duggan. You shut up, because I could strike you out blindfolded, pitching underhand with both arms tied behind my back.
Okay, why don't we take a break? I'm pretty exhausted.
The Paul Feinbaum Show, weekdays at 3 Eastern on the ESPN app and on the SEC Network.
There was an outline for today's show, but it didn't survive the opening segment. Back to Joe and Chewy on the starting lineup right here on ESPN Radio 1340 1069 WCDT Winchester.
All right, back here on the starting lineup, ESPN Radio 1340 1069 WCDT Winchester. Joe, Chewy, and Ricky breaking down the debate that we saw yesterday. Good things out of each of the candidates. We were on question number 2. We're going to have to, I'm going to say this, we're going to have to get through these a little bit quicker.
The debate went faster than our recap.
Yeah, I know it. Okay, so the question number 2 was, how do you balance proactive policing with community trust? And what we heard from Tim Fuller, again, just to recap, is, and I think that this was telling, and you kind of read something that you got a message in a break. You know, Fuller and Parsons and Keller really talked about the same thing in different ways. They presented it in different ways. Know the citizens personally, right? And then trust produces information. And then you're able to use those community relationships to help solve crimes. And Fuller carried that through his full answer. This is where the inexperience of Troy, I think, showed. He said, yes, law enforcement should be unified with the community. They should be communicating with the community. And you'll build those relationships before problems occur. But he didn't follow it through to how those relationships help to solve crimes. And Charles mentioned, yes, having those relationships with the community will help you determine where the problems lie, where the pockets lie, and how to better allocate your resources to those pockets. Moving to question 3. We'll try and be better at this, quicker at this going forward. How would you make the department more transparent and more accountable? Now, each of them got into GPS. And I have gone back and forth on GPS. Part of me thinks, man, that would be like a no-brainer. Why is that not into cars? Then you do a little digging. Winchester has had GPS in their cars for 4 years now.
A while, yeah. The thing with the GPS, it's expensive. Like, the cost on it is not cheap. And that's the reason, the sheriff made last night was they've not pulled the trigger on it just because of the cost. Charles made a good point with the GPS last night, because you could get into an incident, key your mic, but you're not able to say where you're at. That gives the location of every officer right there, or at least where their vehicle is, so you can get to that in that vicinity. I
think the best point Charles made was, and we talk about the cost, and so often we're like, well, does the juice really justify, or does the orange really justify the squeeze, or the juice really justify? As far as Charles is concerned, he said one lawsuit.
Yeah.
One lawsuit covers the cost of that. And I think that's a great argument.
Yeah.
Now, none of them really answered the question. They all got stuck kind of on GPS and computers in the cars. It became about technology.
Well, I think that was their answer for accountability. If we have the GPS in there, then the officers are going to be doing what they're supposed to be doing, because we know where they're going and where they've been.
Question number 4. How would you address drug crime? And Chewy, stop me if there's something in the chat that you just raise your hand up, because I'm trying to burn through these without getting bogged down.
Sure.
How do you address drug crime? Tim mentioned DEA partnerships, federal prosecution, drug interdiction team, aggressive enforcement, and a fentanyl focus. Troy mentioned expanding interdiction through grants, more officers, better coverage. Again, per Troy's answer, you can say better coverage, you can say more officers, and you can say grants. I don't know where his knowledge and access to grants comes from at this point in the process. That part lends me pause. I'm not sure. And he's mentioned that in the interview, and then he mentioned it yesterday in the debate a couple of times, and you asked him specifically about it. I don't know enough about it to know how he would even have access to.
Well, I'm sure the city of Cowan's got access to grants. They apply for grants all the time. So I'm sure he's done something through the city of Cowan looking at some grants. But to go ahead and say that you can get these grants, very rarely do you get a grant that's 100% grant. There's usually matching funds to it. To apply for a grant, the county, it's got to go through the county mayor's office. That's what they've got, someone in there that's a grant writer. That's what she does. So there's a grant you can apply for. We just got one. The county got one a couple years ago that replaced all the radios and something else they went through and did. Chris can talk about that. He has before. But I just got a text from someone saying, well, grants are all still tax-paying dollars.
Yeah.
And they are still tax-paying dollars. I'm not going to argue that one bit, but guess what? Somebody's going to get those tax dollars.
Right.
Why can't we have them?
Right.
So that's for me, that's how I've always looked at it. Grants.
Yeah. It's money that's already gone out.
Yeah.
It's just whether or not we're wise enough to get it to come back in.
But the grant system, this is the thing for grants. With a grant, you don't pay for something reoccurring with a grant.
Right.
Because
it's going to go away.
It's going to go away.
And you're going to be left holding the bag.
Yeah. And then you're stuck with that reoccurring purchase.
this part of the conversation, this is where it got a little bit spicy between Charles and Tim. So Charles said, well, we got to fill the DEA position. Yeah, we have a DEA drug task force position that's sitting there that nobody is in. Tim Fuller, Sheriff Fuller, created that position, but nobody's been in it. And he mentioned since Bear Brewer. And so then they start going back and forth. He mentioned better communication, the regional task force, which I think is a good idea. Having a task force between different regional departments. And then he kind of made a little accusation. He said Huntland is passing along information that wasn't acted upon, saying that there was communication up the ladder about drug information that wasn't acted upon. And then Tim actually came back and bit back at Charles a little bit and said, well, my opponent forgets that he actually served in that DEA task force leader position. And I don't know how long that was for. I think that was an intentional omission by Charles. But it was interesting, again, each of them focusing on drug crime. A couple of good ideas put out there by Charles and Tim. And you could tell, again, Troy, just a level of inexperience in terms of, I feel like, how to get it done. It was very surface level with the more officers and better coverage.
Well, I did get a text just now from Charles saying he never served in that spot.
Okay. So, again, that is interesting. I don't know enough about the position and about all that, but Tim accused him of doing it, as serving in that role.
Kalen Lindsay did say he meant Chuck Steins, not Charles. And
Chuck Steins.
It was less than a year.
Okay. Immigration enforcement. So this is where Tim mentioned that and I think that in this question, this is the ICE question for people who are wondering. This is where Tim's experience at the national level kind of showed through a little bit. He mentioned that they already participate in 287G, which I have no idea what the heck that is. But I don't think that Troy and Charles knew what that was either. He says they comply with state law, existing jail process, and they have a practical approach. So when people enter the jail system, they have a process. Troy said, we're going to enforce a law. We're not going to target people based on their appearance. We're going to cooperate, but we're going to focus on local policing. And Charles said something similar in saying that they're going to cooperate, but that they're not immigration officers, which they're not. They're not going door to door. And I think that that's an area where Tim kind of showed his experience a little bit on that high level. I think that Charles and Troy answered it fine without having that knowledge and experience. But per your point, Tim is going to, based on having served in that role for the last 20 years.
Yeah. I mean, there are things that he's going to know the answer to. Like he's just, that's, if you've not done this job, there are things you won't know. Like you don't know what you don't know yet if you've not been in there. So I honestly thought all three of them, that might have been the one question I thought all three of them answered well.
Question number 6, top 3 public safety concerns. This was one of the areas where they were all, again, very aligned.
Drug and fraud.
Drug and fraud were 1 and 2. And looking at number 3, they each listed a different third safety concern or priority. Tim, his third was theft. Troy's third was child abuse and juvenile issues. And Charles' third was dealers over users, which is still drugs, but more as far as how to prioritize and how to attack the the war on drugs. And then, too, he did mention public education for seniors in regard to the fraud. So he kind of got deeper into his 1 and 2 a little bit. I think that Troy continually throughout the night showed his compassion and showed his heart. This was one of those answers where it may not be the child abuse and the juvenile issues and things like that may not be the most prevalent in terms of number of cases, but it is certainly the most heinous and egregious. I think out of all of the crimes that an individual could commit on the face of this planet, it is the most. And so him prioritizing that, to me, was good on him. I thought that was good for him. Switching gears into individual questions. So we talked to Fuller. You asked him the question about his annual action plan. And he mentioned some of the things this year, the active shooter responses, reunification planning. I know that in the past they have worked on this camera integration and things like that. But he also got into this ERAD technology, which when we talk about fraud, that's what he was referring to. There are these card reader things that they're able to track. And so he was able to identify, hey, here are some of the question before. We talked about what are the priorities, and the response after, he literally, when you asked him the question about what they were focusing on, literally gave an answer. So I thought that was good. It aligned with what he said the priorities were. And then you asked him a tough question about why known drug dealers aren't currently either under investigation or are still walking the streets. And I think that this is one that a lot of people, if you know that they're out there, well, why aren't they behind bars? This is one of the frustrating things.
The questions came from the interview you did with him beforehand.
Right, these two.
And he made the statement that there are people walking around that should be under investigation that aren't.
Right.
And that just blew my mind. It's like, if you know these people should be under investigation, then why aren't we investigating them?
Yeah.
That's part of the sheriff's department's job.
His response was they need probable cause and they cannot arrest without evidence. Now,
that doesn't mean you can't investigate.
Right. I was just going to say that. I don't know how that relates to investigate. They should be under a microscope, and that's where Charles has come in and said that's an area of focus. That's a priority. If we can focus on those guys instead of the low-level guys getting pulled over with a little bit of marijuana, focus on these guys, putting together a case against these guys and investigating them, we'll be better off. All right, when we come back, we'll wrap up hour number one by looking at Troy and Charles, and we'll look at the chat as well. I know there's a ton of people in the chat. I haven't forgotten about you. Be back on the other side. It is the starting lineup, ESPN Radio Winchester.
This is ESPN Radio Winchester, where Franklin County comes to life. From local news and athletics to everything in between, we're proud to bring you the stories that matter right here at home. And it's all made possible by local businesses connecting with real people in our community every single day. When you support them, you support our local coverage. Over 75 years of Franklin County heritage. Want your business to be a part of it? Contact WCDT today. ESPN Radio Winchester. Franklin County plays here.
For over 75 years, one thing has never changed in Winchester, Tennessee. Hall Furniture has been there through it all. 3 generations, decades of trust, and the commitment to quality, value, and service that still comes first today. As we celebrate over 75 years in business, we want to say thank you to our loyal customers, our community, and to everyone who has made Hall Furniture a Winchester tradition. Hall Furniture, here's to another 75 years of helping you make a house feel like home.
Why choose Moore Courtney Funeral Home? Well, they're a 5th-generation funeral home taking care of the people of Franklin County since 1905. They're committed to serving you, dedicated to providing personalized, professional, and compassionate service to help lighten your burden and help you out during these difficult times. Moore Courtney Funeral Home, 300 First Avenue Northwest in Winchester, 967-2222. Moore Courtney Funeral Home.
Got a project to tackle or a party to plan? Skip the stress and rent it instead at Reliable Rental in Winchester. From tools and heavy-duty machines to chairs, tables, and event essentials, they've got what you need to get the job done right. Whether it's work or a weekend celebration, Reliable Rental makes it easy. Stop by 2433 Deckard Boulevard in Winchester or check out everything they offer online at ReliableRentalFC.com. Reliable Rental. When you need it, they've got it.
Back here on the starting lineup. ESPN Radio 1340, 1069, WCDT Winchester. A Where's the Beef Wednesday. Chewy, you seen any good ones in the chat?
I did. There was a few people saying how they enjoyed the debate and had helped them. A lot of conversation just around the topic specifically, and thankfully most people keeping it pretty respectful.
Yeah.
And like, again, that's key. If we're going to talk about it, let's be respectful, especially in the chat.
So yeah, and I do appreciate that from people. I want to point this out as well. Yes,
I want to see a WWE match in there. What
I know
are
you
talking
do.
about?
So I made the decision yesterday during or before the debate to turn the comments, essentially turn them off. It wouldn't let us turn them off completely, but we made it almost impossible for people to comment, and there were no comments on the debate. And my personal belief on the situation was, while it would have led to way more views and it would have been way more entertaining for us to talk about this morning, what people were saying in the chat, that wasn't my goal. My goal was not for us to sell the soul of the community and to tear apart and rip apart the community for views. I did want to state that. So if you were frustrated that you couldn't respond during the event yesterday, during the debate yesterday, I get it. Believe me, I would have loved to see the comments. And
My
so
vote
would
was
Ricky.
leave the comment section on. Like I was all for leaving comments on.
I did not want to create a nasty situation. I just wanted it to be about those guys yesterday.
You didn't want it to be a circus.
Yeah. Now, that being said, if y'all want to, be nasty to each other this morning, go for it.
Let's get ready to rumble.
I mean, Ricky's already moderated one thing. We can put up a ring in the backyard, and he can be the guest referee as well.
Lots of people also talking about the known drug dealer idea.
Yeah.
People sharing some frustrations, even some people giving some options as to, maybe they shouldn't be so comfortable in Franklin County and things like that. So there's a lot of opinions about it, and people having good ones.
And here's what I would like to say to that, because I know that people are frustrated with the drug epidemic, with the fentanyl, situations going on, all the things. And my response to that, in defense of Sheriff Fuller, from a respect standpoint, is remember where we were, okay? I know that where we are is not where we want to be, but it wasn't too long ago that there was a meth lab, like, on every other corner, like they were freaking Dollar General, okay? They were all over the place.
I remember doing a ride-along with George Dyer. This had to be 8-9 years ago, and we did a story on just kind of spotlighting what different people do in different departments. And I rode with George, and he took me to like 7 spots in the county, and every place we stopped we found a makeshift meth lab. Like, he's like, there's gonna be one here. I'm like, how do you know? He goes, there's always one here. He goes, we can tear it down and 3 days later there'll be another one sitting there.
Yeah.
And it just blew my mind, like how many, and they're so, like, when I say meth lab, it's not like they're sitting there like a moonshine still.
No.
It's just a 2-liter bottle with aluminum full inside of it and all these chemicals, and they've shook it up and thrown it off the side of the road somewhere.
Right.
And they come back and pick it up later.
Yeah.
And I was like, that's all it takes to make this stuff? And he's like, there's nothing in here that's good for your body. He goes, this is all poison. But yeah, it was crazy just riding around with him and seeing how that. And at one point, we were the number one, we're the meth capital of the United States.
Yeah. So I think that needs to be taken into account. Now, that being said, like I said, we're not where we want to be, and it goes from one issue to another. Fentanyl is obviously a huge problem these days.
I think we did a really good job policing it to get it that way, but it also helps that it became cheaper to make it in Mexico and ship it in.
Yeah, that's a good point.
Hey, Lucky Nut did jump in saying Ricky did a good job, solid questions. Kaylin Lindsay also jumped in saying George is amazing. He is one of the greatest losses to the sheriff's office.
I love the positive vibes.
Oh, Georgie.
So the specific questions for Troy, the first one revolving around grants, which he brought up, and we mentioned this multiple times. He mentioned the domestic violence assistance, DARE, Keeping It Real programs, vehicle grants, things like that. And we've already kind of touched on this. They're not just giving them out like candy. I don't know necessarily from an insight standpoint. I'd have to get more information on how he knows what's available and what's not and things. And I also have a personal opinion on the DARE program. I don't necessarily think...
Well, statistically, DARE's been it's a failure.
Yeah.
Like, it's not a successful program anymore.
And then the misconduct allegations, again, interesting. And we're, I can hear the music. We're up against a break. But when we come back, we'll talk a little bit about those. The nurse and inmate relationship, reportedly through the he reported some things through the chain of command, more accountability. And then when we come back, we'll talk about Keller's belief in what common sense policing actually means and how he believes he can do that. We'll continue on in hour number 2. Jump in the chat. Let us know your thoughts. It's the FMO Facebook feed on a Where's the Beef Wednesday presented by Max Meat Processing, ESPN Radio, 1340, 1069, WCDT Winchester.
No two patients are alike. High Point Health with Ascension St. Thomas delivers care centered around your health, your goals, your story, your recovery. From routine checkups to critical procedures, we use today's medical technology and advanced clinical practices to help you feel better, recover faster, and return home to the community you love. We don't just specialize in care, we specialize in you. Learn more at highpointhealthsystem.com.
When you're investing in your home, you want someone local. At Discount Floors and More, you're not dealing with a big box store. You're working with a family-owned business that takes pride in every project. From carpet and hardwood to tile and luxury vinyl plank, they offer quality products, professional installation, and service you can trust. Stop by Discount Floors and More on the Bypass in Winchester and see the difference that local makes. On the web at discountfloorsandmoretn.com.
When it comes to beef, the smartest way to buy is straight from the source. At Max Meat Processing, you can stock your freezer with whole, half, or quarter beef, saving money while getting premium, locally raised meat you can trust. No additives, no preservatives, just real beef. And if bulk isn't an option, no problem. Max Meat Market has you covered by the pound. Max Meat Processing, your hometown source for quality beef.
Looking for your next great round of golf? Head to the Bear Trace at Tim's Ford in Winchester. This spectacular Jack Nicklaus designed 18-hole course sits along scenic Tim's Ford Lake with rolling fairways, challenging greens, and lake views that highlight the natural beauty of Franklin County. Whether you're planning a weekly foursome, a company outing, or just sneaking around in, Bear Trace offers one of the best public golf experiences in the region. Book your tee time today at tnstateparks.com and play the Bear Trace at Tim's Ford.
It is the starting lineup. So the World Cup is going on right now in America, which means we have visitors from all corners of the world. They spend the last couple of weeks thinking, you know what? Americans aren't that bad. Nothing says welcome to America like a Belgian soccer fan waking up at 7:30 to some guy named Randy blowing up mortars in the backyard and a sleeveless Dale Earnhardt shirt. Welcome to America!
I'm Kristen Abraham, curator of Abraham Art Gallery right on the square in downtown Winchester. Looking for something unique? Every month brings a new featured artist, original art to inspire and share with the community. Come in, explore, and discover art that's ready to go home with you today. Whether you're redecorating, collecting, or just need something that sparks joy, this is your place. We're open
You're
Tuesday
tuned
through
in
Saturday.
to ESPN Radio Winchester, WCDT 1340 AM, W295 AV, 1069 FM. Broadcasting live from the ESPN Radio Winchester studio, It's the starting lineup. Now, here are your hosts, Joe Abraham and Chewy.
Hour number 2 of a Where's the Beef Wednesday here on the starting lineup, ESPN Radio 1340, 1069 WCDT, Winchester. Joe Abraham, Chewy, and the Humpback Swamp Donkey, Ricky Tips.
Presented by Max Meat Processing.
Yes, it is.
Real quick, before we get any further, I need to address next Thursday night is our third Thursday. Oaks and Olivers is sponsoring the third Thursday Art Walk, and they're doing bouquets. It is $25 to purchase this. Go online right now. Downtown's got the link from the Eventbrite page. It's $25 to buy the bouquets, and you go around to each of the stores and you get your flower. And it's going to be a really cool night. It's next Thursday night, not tomorrow, but the following week. And I won't be able to plug it next Wednesday because I'll be in Jackson, Tennessee. So I want to make sure everybody knows what's going on.
All right. Good job by you.
Also, I got a text message a second ago saying, asking if one of the candidates was reading his answers off a sheet of paper. And I was, be honest with you, up until 2:30, I was the only person that knew the questions yesterday. At 2:30, I contacted one person to ask a few questions about something I was thinking about asking, but ended up not asking it because it became irrelevant. And I'd gone over a few questions with that person. It was Dr. Alsop, who I talked to. And then
it was about SROs.
It was about SROs.
Yeah, you mentioned that to me after.
Well, SROs, somebody made a comment about a question. I thought it was a good question. So I was going to put it in there, but it was about arming teachers. And Dr. Alsop made the comment that he didn't think that was a good idea. And if the director of schools doesn't sign off on it, it can't happen.
Right.
So there's no sense in bringing it up. The other two people that listened to it were Sean Crabtree and Beth Roten. And that was at 4:30 when I called them to run through the questions to them to make sure, see what they thought about how they sound and the wording of everything. So there was only 3 people besides myself that knew what the questions were until about, 5:30 when you read them?
Yeah. Well, and you arrived right around 5 o'clock.
Yeah.
Yeah. And I read them right before just to make sure that we were all on the same page and there wasn't any surprises in there. I got a message that says warning stops are logged in the system in Deckard and can be seen if the subject is pulled over again. So in terms of talking about whether or not, we should be making arrests for stopping folks for a little bit of marijuana or something like that, it is something that they can do. All right. So let's see here. Okay. One of the more uncomfortable questions and responses that was made was to Troy Parsons Jr. Regarding the misconduct allegations. And, he mentioned some of the things that he has apparently seen, both as a corrections officer and on the road. And I thought that was interesting. It didn't really go anywhere, but he mentioned a nurse-inmate relationship and some other things.
But then he mentioned the nurse got terminated a few days later. So, I mean, it was...
Right.
Everything was done correctly in that situation. Like,
exactly.
The misconduct happened, investigation took place, person was terminated.
Right. And if the process worked, then, as far as, I'm going to run for sheriff because I feel like there's changes needed. Well, in that case, what change is needed? It worked.
I will say on that specifically, he did talk about how he was giving a good example of what's supposed to happen, but he said he also wanted to prevent the ability for them to just resign and then move to a different station.
Good point. It's a good point.
That I think that was one thing that he did say.
He wanted there to be a little bit more to that.
Like if
they should get punished for it, essentially.
Not just a slap on the hand and then you leave.
All right, so Charles Keller then was asked about common sense policing, and this was, again, where I just felt like at times a little bit some of his answers were a little bit campaigny, where he mentioned better communication, more frequent staff meetings, run it like a business. And I get that you could spend a 2-hour show just talking about those things, but he had 2 minutes to respond. I would have liked a little bit more meat on the bones. I don't know if he took that one all the way to the end. Now, he did mention, in terms of running it like a business, one of the areas on how you could do that is, well, in terms of analyzing the type of vehicles that we're buying. Okay, we're buying a bunch of Durangos, and I've heard him make this case a couple of times. We're buying Durangos, which are not as good from a resale value and other things like that, more maintenance. Yes, they may be more affordable on the front end, but in the long run, are we able to get anything out of them? Do they cost us more money? So that was a good point. I don't know how much of a huge impact it makes in terms of a $10 million budget, but it's a perfect point as to how things can be better analyzed and how we can have better purchasing practices. A bunch of small cuts, you can die by 1,000 cuts, right? And so that's his point. If we can do it better, we should do it better. Zero drug arrests in Huntland. That was the second question for him. And he mentioned that statistics don't tell the whole story. Officers often give warnings. Marijuana destroyed on the roadside, and they pass larger cases off to the sheriff's department and things like that. Now, the one thing I'll bring up about this response that was interesting was how he portrayed the Huntland Police Department as a part-time police department. He kind of backed the bus over Huntland in terms of doesn't have all the resources that it needs. It basically can't, is what he said.
Well, it's not going to be able to. It's a small department. I mean, it's just, you kind of go back to the last week when you talked to Mayor Crabtree, the water department in Huntland.
Right.
The state said they're just not big enough to handle what they have to do.
Yeah.
Well, the police department's the same thing down there. It's just not big enough to handle all it's got to do. That's why the sheriff's department does a lot of stuff down there.
Right. Which I agree with. I thought it was just an important, way to approach the response to that question. Now, all that said, his example behind it, I think that it's legitimate. I think that it's concerns that are legitimate down in Huntland. But then again, it raises the question, okay, well, you're running for sheriff of a county of 45,000 people. You've said, well, this is how we do it down in Huntland at some times. But then at other times you're saying, well, we couldn't do it the right way down in Huntland because we only have a certain amount of resources. So you're kind of arguing against yourself, is how I felt at certain times with his own, experience leading the Huntland department. Question number 7, reducing recidivism. Tim Fuller mentioned reentry, GED, IDs, parenting, classes, rehab, probation, kind of all the highlights that a career officer, a career sheriff would. Troy mentioned some really creative solutions to recidivism. He also said something that you caught, that I caught, Chewy caught, that sounded extremely offensive. I think I understand what he was saying, and you asked him to clarify it, in calling the perpetrators of a crime victims themselves. Now, depending on the heinous activity and other things like that, it can be extremely uncomfortable to think of a felon of a crime as a victim in a case. But what he is talking about, or what it seemed like he was talking about, was maybe the way that they were raised, or the reason that they're in the situation that they're in, comes from a lifestyle that has led them down a bad road. And we have to work on prevention before people fall into these bad cycles. That's what, from a clarification standpoint, how it came across. But the way that he said it initially, my head almost exploded.
I did too. I was like, I didn't hear that correctly.
Yeah, I think you meant victim of circumstances.
Right.
And like the responsibility of the rest of us to try and help prevent this happening again.
Yeah.
He's not saying that all perpetrators are victims.
And then Charles Keller gave a a good answer as far as the jails are concerned. He wants the jails to be less comfortable, which I agree with.
I'll tell you, I remember when Foster was a sheriff, that was the one comment you heard from everybody, was that jail is miserable.
Yeah.
Like, it is not a place you want to be. It is, like, there was zero comforts. I think the only book to read in there was the Bible.
I agree. I feel like, if you enter the prison system and are stuck there, it should be uncomfortable. Maybe there's different levels to that. He talked about the commissary. He talked about the chirps and a tough jail that discourages repeat offenders. The thing about the chirps, which was interesting that I didn't know. Now, I learned about the chirps here more recently, but I didn't know that the chirps funded certain technology, which Tim Fuller clarified. So again, it's one of these things where the concept of removing the chirps sounds great, but then will that cause an issue where now taxpayer dollars, instead of the money that pays for the chirps from the inmates, has to fill that gap to pay for the technology?
Well, so you say that, but also think of it this way. It costs, I'm going to round it up, probably $80 a day to keep an inmate in jail. So if you have people who are repeat offenders that keep coming back, if you can make it where it's so miserable they don't want to be in there, then you save that $80 a day per inmate.
Yeah.
Well, that $80 cost right there help purchase items.
Right. And
so,
that's exactly it. It's a good point.
It's not a guarantee either way, but it is. I mean, it's an algebraic equation.
Different ways of solving a problem, and that's what's so great about some of these questions and answers, is that there's different ways of cooking an egg, per se. So recruiting and retention.
And letting Chewy sit on it is not the correct one.
No.
What?
But I think Chewy is the reason why a lot of people show up to this show day in and day out. So I can't be too mean to him. Actually, I think that they show up because I'm mean to him. They just got to they're looking out for him. Question number 8, real quick, recruiting and retention. This is a challenge across the
nation.
Yeah. And when we come back, we'll talk a little bit more about it and how each of these candidates plans to, if they are the next sheriff, plans to combat it. Do that on the other side. It is the starting lineup. This is ESPN Radio 1340, 1069, WCDT Winchester.
The Tennessee Lifeline Peer Project connects individuals and families to addiction recovery resources right here in Franklin County and across our region, from treatment referrals and 12-step meetings to education and ongoing support. Because recovery happens when we're stronger together, and life truly is stronger without it. Learn more at fcpctn.org/TNLifeline or call 931-464-0725. Funded under a grant contract with the Tennessee Department of Mental Health and Substance Abuse Services.
From the 931 Go Weather Center, it's time for an ESPN Radio Winchester weather update, presented by Bennett's Pharmacy.
More wet weather headed your way today with a 50% chance of showers and thunderstorms, mainly after 1 p.m. Areas of fog in the early morning. Otherwise, partly sunny with a high of 86 degrees today and some calm winds coming in from around 5 miles per hour. Get out there and stay tuned to ESPN Radio Winchester for all of your wet weather updates.
At Bennett's Pharmacy in Winchester, we're more than a pharmacy. We're your partner in health. Conveniently located at 1201 Dinah Shore Boulevard, we're here to serve you with fast, friendly, and personalized service. Need prescriptions filled? Looking for over-the-counter products? We've got you covered. Plus, enjoy local delivery and expert advice from our caring team. Call us today at 931-967-2777 or stop by Bennett's Pharmacy at 1201 Dinah Shore Boulevard today.
Joe had to mix up some more pre-workout, but he's ready to go another round. Back to the starting lineup. This is ESPN Radio Winchester.
Back here on the starting lineup, ESPN Radio 1340, 1069 WCDT, Winchester. Joe Abraham, Chewy, and the Humpback Swamp Doggy Ricky Tips in studio with us this morning. Jump into the FMO Facebook feed. Lots of comments in the chat. And I think that there are a lot of people who got a lot of questions answered yesterday. There's a lot of people that have a lot more questions. And that's what we're kind of talking through. Just getting through, what are the perspectives on the different answers? I think we've done a good job of showing both sides of each of the responses. I would like to give a shout out, Chewy, Crosby. I just got a picture of Crosby.
Oh, yeah?
He's taking his flight this morning to
All right.
Texas. He's hanging out the front window of I didn't know that planes' front windows opened. But he's literally hanging out the cockpit of the front window of this, big friggin' jumbo jet thing. So, safe travels to Lil Crosby. He's going to be gone for 2 weeks.
Dang, I'm going to miss him.
Yeah, what am I going to do with myself?
Yeah. Hope he has a fun flight, though.
Yeah. So.
They're not letting him take off, are they?
It wouldn't get very far.
You have little faith. I bet you could get it at least in the air.
He plays a lot of video games. He probably
I'm telling you, dude.
Probably could.
I have faith. I think he might be able to do it.
Doing barrel rolls. All right. Chewy, to the chat. Anything that you've seen? I know that there's a lot, right?
Yeah, there's some people like Jennifer Woodcock jumped in saying that she's still definitely torn. There are people talking about some of the changes needed. Specifically, we're talking about consequences for people who are doing misconduct, like accountability and stuff like that, having a more permanent solution rather than just a slap on the wrist. And that's sort of what's been going on. Nikki Martin jumped in saying actions have consequences. There are no excuses. And people are also talking about basically the spending problem with the GPS and technology stuff.
Okay.
So,
good comments there. All right. So recruiting and retention. This is something that I'd love to hear from people within different departments, their opinion on how hard it is these days to find good officers, good law enforcement officials, regardless of the level. Tim Fuller mentioned the reserve program and internal recruiting, and he mentioned a youth program that they had success with at the high school level a while back. And obviously there's things like pay and benefits. He has in the past told me that he believes that the benefits could be better.
I'll tell you, the family benefits are horrendous.
Right. That's what he mentioned to me. He says that the pay is pretty good, but the benefits, they look on the surface level for the individual, they look about the same as like the school district.
Yep.
But then when you get down into the family benefits, they're absolutely terrible. Terrible. Troy Parsons Jr. mentioned a couple of interesting things. Family culture. He grew up, again, the son of an officer, and remembers the days where they felt more to him like a family. And he mentioned a few times, getting together with the communities and getting together with the department and having cookouts and having things where you kind of create a culture, a family atmosphere around it. And that's a big thing to him. It was something that constantly came up throughout the night with him. And he mentioned the grooming policy as well. I am kind of along the same lines. Like I love my beard. I don't think that I could work somewhere where I couldn't have my beard. That being said, I do appreciate that certain level. Like the Yankees used to be like that. Now they've changed. You change a little
I
bit.
remember Johnny Damon going to the Yankees,
Shaving his beard off.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Cutting his hair.
Oh yeah. And now they've kind of relaxed that to where the guys can have neatly groomed beards. Charles mentioned fair promotions, better scheduling, rotate weekends, and again, just the quality of leadership. So I think the fair promotions is the one that stood out to me in terms of if people feel like they can't maybe elevate their station based on their performance as opposed to politics within the department, that might be keeping them from maybe working within that department, and that goes back to leadership. But it's a pretty strong accusation. But again, it's one that he made. What were your thoughts on both the recruiting and retention?
So I saw a thread last night where somebody was talking about the debate. And in that thread, there was a comment that said, a Christmas party and growing your beard out is not a recruiting tool.
Mm.
And I was like, dang, that's a shot.
Yeah.
I think it is an issue across the nation with the police officer, has been since COVID. You had a lot of, officers who were able to retire early at that point. You've had a lot of officers who have retired here in Franklin County in the last several years. Experienced officers and quality officers are hard to do. Plus, being a cop is not, that it's not one of those things where it's glamorized.
Yeah,
like
well,
it used to
especially
be.
since the whole George Floyd situation and stuff like that. I mean, there was and it's still going on, but there was a little while there where it was very dangerous for you to wear the badge, and you were the bad guy.
Yep.
And the SRO programs, they try and combat that on the school level, and obviously across the county, there's been an initiative with every department and really across the country for officers to kind of reconnect with the public. But Tim Fuller specifically mentioned in his interview how they went from having like 60 applications for a position to like 6 since that occurred.
So I say it's just not being a cop used to be something that was, revered.
Right. Respect.
And
yeah.
it's not anymore. So that position doesn't carry the weight it used to.
Yeah.
So, and for me, it should, because these people do put their life on the line on a daily basis. I've had law enforcement in my family for years and years and years. So this is one of those things that, I feel strong about, but you have to respect has to be earned.
Yeah.
And that's the thing. I think that, the day of just giving a cop respect because the uniform has gone away. And that makes it harder to recruit these people now.
Yeah. So the chief deputy question was kind of disappointing. Tim Fuller mentioned that he was going to keep his chief deputy. Troy Parsons and Charles Keller both said that they have someone selected, but they're not going to release the name. I am to the belief we're like a month out now. I don't know what the state secret is at this point in time. For me, I would have liked for those guys to be able to make those or be prepared to make those announcements. I think that, again, if you're trying to overcome an incumbent that has been in the position for 20 years, you need all the excitement and momentum and things like that you can generate. And I think that would have helped Charles and especially Troy, because Troy is a guy who, if you're young like he is, or if you're inexperienced like a lot of folks say he is, and you come out with a really strong chief deputy in mind, then that can go a long way for you.
Yeah. Someone that's got plenty of experience who can help you along the way.
Well, and I think that what it can do is, and this is similar to a good example for Charles too. If Charles is really good from like the logistical and business standpoint, and he's going to run it like a business, well, having somebody who is kind of the opposite of Charles as his chief deputy that shows the balance of his new regime, I think that goes a long way. I was just more disappointed that they didn't have the answer. I was looking forward to that one. Question 10, managing 130 employees. Sheriff Fuller mentioned supervisor evaluations, needs more deputies, strong command staff, how those things are important, and how you do that job. And Troy mentioned how his youth, he feels like, is an advantage, that he can build on what Fuller has accomplished, and he wants to approach it with a team approach, a family approach. Again, going back to that whole mentality. But I think that, again, not a lot of substance to Troy's answers in that answer, or in that question. And then Charles mentioned his experience, private sector management. He's managed lots of employees. He's had facility managers. He's had to delegate to different supervisors and things like that. So I think that Charles does bring a strong management background into the position as well.
You know, one of the things that kind of bugged me was Troy's comment saying how he's going to build on what Tim's doing, build on what Tim's been doing. Well, if I'm just going to build on what Tim's been doing, then I'm going to vote for Tim.
It's a good point.
I mean, that right there, that was something that last night just kept sticking out. And then the more you've repeated it this morning in the comments, that was something I thought of.
Right.
If I'm just going to build on what the guy that's been there is doing, then I'm just
are
going
you
to vote for the guy.
Yeah, you're not building anything of your own. You're just continuing on. Good point. All right, so question 11, talking about the sheriff's office budget. This is another one. Well, I'm going to start with Troy here. He said he had not reviewed the budget.
That bothered me.
Yeah, that was where I was out. I'll be honest. And Troy's a great kid. I think that in the long run, I think that he could be a really good candidate. But that response right there, I can't. We're a month out. And for you to not have not only no plan as far as how you can improve the budget, but you haven't even looked at it. I was out.
Yep.
Now, Tim mentioned that the raise in the percentage primarily stemmed from pay raises, insurance increases, and the time clock, which he's mentioned a few times as well. It does not like the time clock. Now, the argument, regardless of which way you come in at, guys showing up 15 minutes early to prepare for shifts, unpaid, and other things like that, versus now they're getting paid for it, and the fact that they're paying a lot more in overtime now, I think that they should get paid for their time.
If you have to be there 15 minutes early for a meeting, then that's what time you have to be at work.
Yeah, then you should get paid for that 15 minutes. But those changes are the ones that he referred to as in terms of explaining the jump. And Charles said that he had reviewed it from his commissioner standpoint, mentioned vehicle maintenance, mentioned jail debt, the repair shop, and again, just tightening up the budget. Can we do better? Can we review it closer? So I think that we've now gone through, I think we've gone through every question at this point. When we come back, we'll talk a little bit more. We'll just wrap up our thoughts. I think that, again, personally, there were some really good things from Charles and some really good things from Tim. And it's why this is such an intense conversation, such an intense debate around these two guys. There are some questions that have popped up, and maybe we'll talk about that on the other side as well. What new questions do you have? If you've got new questions that weren't answered from the debate, drop them in the chat. We'll go through the chat here on the other side. I'll go through it in a break, and we'll try and talk about some of that stuff as well. It is the starting lineup with Ricky Tips and Chewy. I am Joe Abraham. This is ESPN Radio Winchester.
Summer is here, and it's the perfect time to refresh your home with hot deals from Furniture Merchandise Outlet in Tullahoma. Whether you're upgrading your living room, bedroom, dining room, or finding the perfect mattress, FMO has stylish furniture at prices your wallet will love. Visit Furniture Merchandise Outlet today at 105 North Jackson Street in Tullahoma, or shop anytime at FMOTN.com. Make your house feel like summer all year long with FMO.
This is Daryl from Columbus, previously from the Paul Feinbaum Show. I like your show. I've been watching you for years. I like you, but I don't like you. I don't know you like Tennessee or Alabama. I don't know which one you like, but I know you don't like the Auburn Tigers, man.
Willie, thank you. I'm a little bit confused by liking me and not liking me, but you laid out your case very well.
The Paul Feinbaum Show, weekdays at 3 Eastern on the ESPN app and on the SEC network.
It's time for a local news break from the 931 Go News Center.
Tonight is the night all three candidates for Franklin County Sheriff will meet face-to-face in a live debate hosted by ESPN Radio Winchester. Incumbent Sheriff Tim Fuller, Charles Keller, and Troy Parsons Jr. will participate in the debate beginning at 6 p.m. The event will be broadcast live on ESPN Radio Winchester, 1340 AM, 106.9 FM, and streamed live on the station's Facebook page. The debate will give voters the opportunity to hear each candidate discuss the issues, answer questions, and share their vision for the future of Franklin County Sheriff's Office ahead of Election Day. Franklin County schools have officially opened online enrollment for the 2026-2027 school year. For students entering 1st through 12th grades, families registering a new student or updating returning student information can complete the process online by visiting fcstn.net. Pre-K and kindergarten students will continue using traditional paper enrollment forms. Enrollment kiosks will also be available every Wednesday in July from 8 a.m. to 4 p.m. at the Franklin County Board of Education for families needing computer access or assistance. The district says that the complete school calendar and other important back-to-school information are available on the Franklin County School District website and Facebook page. The University of Tennessee's Extension Office in Franklin County will host a special agricultural workshop Thursday, July 23rd from 9 a.m. to 1 p.m. at the Extension Office on Joyce Lane in Winchester. The program, titled Growing Through Challenges, will focus on soil health, drought-tolerant crops, grain and grazing systems, and USDA opportunities available to producers. Anyone interested in attending is asked to RSVP by contacting John Farrell at 931-967-2741 or by email at jfarrell@tnstate.edu. For details on these stories and more, visit 931go.com. Stay informed and stay connected to your community with ESPN Radio Winchester.
When it comes to caring for your loved ones, choose a name you can trust. Inhabit Home Health in Winchester, located at 2068 Cowan Highway. We're here to provide compassionate professional care right in the comfort of your own home. From skilled nursing to therapy services, our team is dedicated to helping you or your loved ones achieve the best quality of life. Call Inhabit Home Health today at 931-967-0633 to learn more about our personalized care plans.
This segment of the starting lineup is brought to you by the Furniture Merchandise Outlet in Tullahoma. Tune into the starting lineup with the FMO Facebook feed every weekday. Now, back to Joe and Chewy.
Back here on the starting lineup, ESPN Radio, 1340, 106.9, WCDT, Winchester. Joe Abraham, Ricky Tips, Chewy. Can you hear me now? Bear jumps into chat saying, I don't think Troy and Charles not stating who their chief deputy is going to be hurts. If you look back 20 years ago, Tim didn't hire a chief deputy until 9 months after being elected. You mentioned, Ricky, too, in a break that it could also possibly affect the job, the relationship, whatever the case is, of who that individual might be. It's a good point. Aaron Carmine says, look at the election for mayor in Coffee County. Primary was brutal. Even the county assessor job was brutal. Name calling, dirty laundry tossed around, relatives of a person running, threatening people online and on the road for not voting for their pick. I think people want accountability and want to hear from these people in a live forum. The days of just tossing a sign up and getting elected based on being a long-time resident are gone. Good point. Lots of people jumping into the chat. Chewy, has anything specifically stuck out to you?
Yes. Doug Garrett lamented the idea that I don't have lights again, saying jail can't be that bad. At least they have lights, which is more than Joe gives Chewy in his enclosure. And I did like the answer. We need to buy Tahoes, not Durangos.
So I just would like to rebuttal Doug's comment. Chewy's enclosure had lights. I'm trying to run this place like a business, so I removed them.
Look, the true answer is that Chewbacca is a nocturnal creature.
Yes.
Yes.
And it thrives in the dark.
I lost my pronouns.
It
thrives in the dark.
We were going to put heat lamps in there to help because we believe it's a cold-blooded creature.
Yeah, there's speculation in that regard.
We have to wait for this one to pass so we can do the autopsy to find out more.
Yeah, well, it'll be soon.
We tried to send some DNA off, but it just came back unconfirmed. So we've determined he's either A, Wookiee, or B, alien. We're just not 100% sure.
I was really surprised when the DNA came back and said we're not sure if this is mud or chewing gum. Like, I was confused. Like, I didn't understand how those were the two options. But that's
oh my God,
the answer
Brutal.
said.
For everybody watching, these are my best friends, by the way. Oh dear.
You sure about that?
Friends like us shouldn't need enemies.
Jeez. Aaron Carmine also mentioned GPS computers and computers and vehicles that function correctly are standard of any department across the nation. It's 2026, not 1980. Sheriff's budget is set by the county, not by the sheriff, so the sheriff so no sheriff can increase taxes.
Sheriff budget is set by the county. That's correct, but the sheriff does get to request.
Right. Stephanie Sweeten mentioned Class C felony for anyone working with a sheriff's department, whether they're an employee or a volunteer, to have a sexual relationship with an inmate. So
felony.
Yeah. So per Troy Parsons Jr.'s comments yesterday, Jamie says, do you realize that most people working can't say anything, period? They watch Facebook likes, comments, who is following for their employees. Jennifer Woodcock says, I'm definitely torn. I think that, like I said, I think that there's a lot of people who had a lot of questions answered, raised some more. Kevin Lloyd said, unfortunately, I wasn't able to listen to the debate. Kevin, if you want to go back, you can. It is still on our timeline. If you did not watch it or you haven't listened to the show this morning to get our... Listen, the debate was an hour long. We spent an hour and 30 minutes recapping it. So if you listen to the show, you probably got a good idea.
It will be uploaded to YouTube,
I would go back and watch the debate because I think you'd get a lot from listening to the candidates themselves.
Yeah.
For me, like, I would like for everyone to make their own opinions. That was kind of the reason last night for doing this.
Yeah.
Was we're going to ask the questions, let them give you the answers, and y'all get to decide which way you want to go in this election from there. I think it's very important for, a media outlet like the radio station to allow the candidates to have that moment
right.
to be able to get their information out and let people hear about them and who they are, what they stand for.
And per Ricky and Chewy and I, we're going to break things down. We're going to talk about it because that's what we do. I've got a 2-hour radio show I got to fill every day. If you have ever tried to do that, coming up with content every day, not an easy thing to do, but that's what we do. That's what we're here for. We have the conversations. We provide the platform for you guys to have the conversations. So as far as us, these are our personal opinions. Not any one of us represents the station doesn't have an opinion. These are just our insights, our thoughts on how the thing played out. And I think that it's neat because, to be quite honest with you, knowing each of us and how we look at things, we each hear the answers, the same answers that you guys do, and come up with completely different opinions about who maybe had the best answer of the three. All right. Gentlemen, are you ready to move on from the debate, from the conversation?
If you'd like to.
Can we talk about Chewy's hair?
I think we should. No, I don't really want to talk about Chewy's hair, although it does need a trim. It's been a while.
It's getting long.
Oh,
Since
trying to
cut.
bring the Clippers back out, Chewy?
I think so. But one of the things that I came across this morning was they had the running of the bulls in Spain.
Pamplona?
Yeah. We talked this past week about the tradition that is the 4th of July and all these folks coming to America and eating,
Buc-ee's
processed.
for the first time.
Huh?
Eating Buc-ee's for the first time.
I was going to say processed tubed meats, various forms of tubed meats.
Ribs.
The glizzies. But like only in America, can you walk outside and there's Randy blowing up mortars in the backyard at 8 o'clock in the morning in his cut off Dale Earnhardt t-shirt. But that raised.
Praise Dale.
Yeah. It raised the question. I saw the thing for the running of the bulls. We're not the only ones out there, okay?
That aren't stable?
Yeah, that have weird things.
I'll tell you the funniest thing I've seen so far since the FIFA World Cup was a video of people going back to England and trying to eat.
And
being like, ugh. But you love bangers and mash.
Oh, gosh.
No, I don't.
No, you don't.
No,
See,
I don't.
we complain about, the folks from California coming over this way. That would be a real problem. That would be a real problem if we start getting a bunch of Euros in here.
And especially if it was for the food,
I want biscuits and gravy.
Yeah.
What is that?
Oh, it's so good.
Somebody said that the British eat like there's still airplanes going overhead.
No, one of the things that I've seen too is
Hey, boss lady in the chat.
Have you guys seen the cheese wheel thing? Hey, love.
Oh, where they roll the cheese wheel down the hill?
And then they like chase it down
after
the hill?
Yeah, that's was it Scottish.
Oh my gosh.
Some of these people when they fall.
Oh my gosh.
And roll for like 300 yards.
Yeah, dude. You're like, did you break a rib? Like,
did you break everything?
Yeah. There was a guy who I swear, he was cartwheeling and somersaulting his body. He looked like a rag doll.
Look, I'm going to sit there. This is another thing, 4th of July tradition that I hate with a passion.
Okay.
Cannot stand it. Think it's the dumbest thing ever. And I don't understand how this has become such a popular televised event. But if I see Joey Chestnut eat one more hot dog.
I'm glad that you brought that up because like 2 days afterwards, after the U.S. lost to Belgium, he went to some place in Florida and said, in order for the U.S. to heal, to help the U.S. heal, I'm going to eat 1,000 shrimp from this place in Florida.
Why?
I don't know. I've never eaten 1,000 of anything.
I don't know if I could eat 1,000 M&Ms.
Yeah.
Let alone 1,000 shrimp.
1,000 shrimp. That is disgusting.
I hope he ate them peel and all, and his stomach gets just shredded. Joey Chestnut. So my fantasy football league, it's year round because it's a keeper league.
It's
and
year-round fantasy football. That tells you everything you need to
like-
know about Ricky.
It's insane. Like these guys, and it's a really good group of guys. They're from all over. They're not just from here. They're from it's Texas, Florida, Carolinas. Like there's people from all around. There's a few here locals also. But in the chat, somebody says Joey Chestnut the greatest athlete of all time, and I was like, Joey Chestnut is the most disgusting human ever. If you can eat 66 hot dogs in 10 minutes, like there's something wrong with you.
You know who I think is one of the best athletes of all time that no one talks about? Jeremy Wade.
Never heard of her.
Yeah, you have. He was the guy who was the host of River Monsters. He's that pro fisherman.
Yeah.
That dude caught every single one. There's no more. That's
caught all the Pokemon.
He literally did. And I'm like, no one talks about that. I think that's like shockingly impressive. I like for an athlete,
Can
especially.
we mute his mic sometime? I just want a button in here.
Ricky's mad that I'm right.
As far as the whole Joey Chestnut thing, to wrap that thought up, have you guys heard about the parasite that's going on up in Michigan?
No.
It's everywhere. The one, the explosive diarrhea thing. Yeah.
What?
There's a diarrhea
16
parasite.
states that have.
I've had
have
this
it right now.
parasite since I was 16.
Apparently, like 2 weeks of diarrhea.
Are you kidding me?
Yeah.
Like it's
That's gonna
actually
kill people.
longer than that. Like if you take them, because there's only like one certain medicine you can take
Jeez.
to fix it. and it's like 6 months of like your stomach will be messed up afterwards. It's crazy.
Where did it come from?
COVID Brown. That's what they're calling it.
Oh my God. I just want to go to break now.
COVID number 2.
That's awful. Where does it come from? Is it like from like a bacteria, like in the food?
Lettuce.
Lettuce. Well, I'm
yeah,
fine.
that's
Chewy's okay.
Chewy's like, I'm safe.
Yeah, I'm good. No, I'll be fine.
It's from vegetables.
Oh god,
sweet. Never catching that one.
Look at that. Look. Wow. Did you see that bullet go right over me?
All right. Speaking of a break, let's take one. We'll reset. I can't. We'll be back on the other side. It is the starting lineup on a Where's the Beef Wednesday. We'll get into our beefs on the other side, and if you've eaten, I don't know, 60 hot dogs in the last 15 minutes,
or some lettuce,
you have a different kind of beef than Chewy, Ricky, and I. That's for sure. It is ESPN Radio 1340 1069 WCDT Winchester.
This is ESPN Radio Winchester, where Franklin County comes to life. From local news and athletics to everything in between, we're proud to bring you the stories that matter right here at home. And it's all made possible by local businesses connecting with real people in our community every single day. When you support them, you support our local coverage. Over 75 years of Franklin County heritage. Want your business to be a part of it? Contact WCDT today. ESPN Radio Winchester. Franklin County plays here.
Got a project to tackle or a party to plan? Skip the stress and rent it instead at Reliable Rental in Winchester. From tools and heavy-duty machines to chairs, tables, and event essentials, they've got what you need to get the job done right. Whether it's work or a weekend celebration, Reliable Rental makes it easy. Stop by 2433 Deckard Boulevard in Winchester or check out everything they offer online at ReliableRentalFC.com. Reliable Rental. When you need it, they've got it.
If your life depended on the mission succeeding, what would you care about? Would you care about the demographics of the crew? The moon does not care about your politics, doesn't care about your hashtags. It does not care about where you lie on social media arguments. It doesn't care whether you're male or female or black or white or rich or poor or conservative or liberal or religious or atheist or anything else, because reality does not negotiate. It just is. You can disagree with the facts, but they don't care about your feelings. It is a starting lineup. Thank you for tuning in. This is ESPN Radio Winchester.
The future of healthcare starts here. The Southern Tennessee Regional Health System, Winchester and Suwannee, are joining the High Point Health System with Ascension St. Thomas, a health network serving communities across the state. We're working together to expand access, improve clinical quality, and keep you close to home throughout your care journey. Your favorite providers aren't going anywhere. It's the same care you know and trust, now with a new name, High Point Health with Ascension St. Thomas. Learn more at highpointhealthsystem.com.
We apologize if this is your first time, but yes, unfortunately, this is normal. You're listening to the starting lineup on ESPN Radio 1340 1069 WCDT Winchester.
Back here on the starting lineup, ESPN Radio 1340 1069 WCDT Winchester. Joe Abraham, Chewy, and the Humpback Swamp Donkey in studio with us this morning. We spent most of the morning recapping the sheriff's debate last night on a Where's the Beef Wednesday presented by the folks at Max Meat Processing. I don't think they do glizzies.
No, I don't think they do.
Over at Max. But they do have the beef. Chewy.
What is a glizzy?
It's a hot dog.
Hot dog and or sausage. Some say tubed meat.
Tubed meat.
Tubed meat. Chewy, do you have a beef.
I do. I did want to shout out, though, in the comment section, Kevin Simmons said, what about the tomato fight in Spain where they throw overripe tomatoes at each other? It's held in August. And,
Yes.
that one is insane.
Help us identify more. That is tremendous.
And then Ashley Heineman jumped in saying, hey, y'all. Hey, Ashley. And
what should we do in Winchester? We need a Winchester thing.
oh, that would be interesting.
I'll tell you what I've always wanted to do.
Yeah.
This might cause some issues.
Okay. Well, listen, I don't think that that's a problem. Let's talk about real quick. All of these events have a certain amount of danger that is innate to them.
That's true.
Blowing stuff up on the 4th of July,
Getting raw tomato in your mouth, wanting to hurt yourself.
maybe getting a poopy disease.
Yeah.
Throwing tomatoes at each other, running down the hill chasing a wheel of cheese, and running with bulls. So if there's not a level of danger and problems with your thing, then I think it doesn't qualify. Go for it.
So, boxcar derbies.
Yes. Yes.
Like the Little Rascals. Boxcar derby.
I'm on board.
Okay, boxcar or push cart, like the Jamaican bobsled team.
Like the Little Rascals. Do you remember the movie The Little Rascals?
Where they go down the hill?
Where they go down, yeah. They're going down the hill. I've always wanted to do this. Starting on the square.
Going down
the boulevard.
That would be tremendous.
If you had to, you could also do it in front of Elevate.
In front of where?
Elevate on the side road.
Yeah.
Yeah, you could go down there.
See, that's an easy one to do.
Oh.
But I want to go, I want to make this.
He wants to make it disruptive to the entire town because that would make it more awesome.
Okay.
I agree.
I just think you go down the hill by Elevate, you're only going one block.
You want to go all the way down past
I want to take it down to the red light by Loco.
Oh,
Yeah.
wow. Okay.
I like it.
Yeah.
All right. I'm here for it.
Yeah, see?
Now what are the age groups? Because I want to participate.
Yeah,
I think
playing.
we can do, the senior division.
All right. Wow. Okay, easy. Adults.
The senior
Experienced.
I think that could be a thing, but I think it'd be cool
I'm
to be
all
able to
about
set
that.
up.
It's time to build the decade crow.
Right, dude? Dude, that would be so sick. I'd have the best one.
The
I'd
problem
win for show.
is T-Dot,
Oh.
because that's a state highway.
What if we just didn't tell him?
Lame.
Yeah, you kind of have to.
Well, I mean, what
Because
if
you
you
got to
didn't?
redirect traffic. And there's not an easy way to redirect traffic right there because of the bridge.
Right.
But this is something I've always wanted to do.
There needs to be a roll. You know what? You need to do a test case. So, I mean, have the first one.
Let's just push Chewy down the hill in rollerblades. I think that would.
I will not confirm or deny, but a shopping cart will make it. Supposedly. From the top of that hill.
Oh, gosh.
All the way down past the bridge to where Pizza Hut used to be. Areas.
Okay.
I'm not going to confirm or deny that I have been a part of this.
Yeah.
But I will say that I've heard rumors that you can make it there in a shopping cart.
All right.
There you go. So
It
you
might
need
have
to
come
build a
from
box.
Bates.
Might have come from Bates. So if anybody from Bates is missing a shopping cart
look down
in the
the
90s.
in the 90s, it might be up the road a ways.
If you lost a shopping cart in the
Parks,
90s.
Parks back behind Davis, Kessler, and Davis.
Not confirming this happened. Just saying that
Right behind the oak tree.
there is a possibility that this.
Ricky knows exactly where it is.
Kevin Simmons says Ricky would have ended up in the lake. Oh, man. That's why we can't do that is because, dude, I'd make a wrong turn and I'd just go right off that bridge.
We can put lifeguards down there.
I'm all about like that. I think that's actually a really fun idea.
Yeah.
I genuinely, I would build mine. I still want to build that sailboat. I told you about that. I found $200 plans for a sailboat. And you use a
For $200, I'll sell you a sailboat.
How big is it? Mine's sort of
It's
a dinghy.
big enough that you can fit in.
That's pretty big. Yeah.
Sells him a box.
But I don't know. I think that'd be a lot of fun, especially if you had like businesses sponsor them so they look like race cars and everything. That would be really cool.
But that is something I've always wanted to do.
Yeah.
I think that'd be really cool.
It would be
pull
cool.
off.
It would be cool. I like it. We could do, if you did a pushcart derby, you could do like laps around the square.
Yeah.
And then I could have Chewy push me around the square.
Oh, man,
in a
we'd lose.
pushcart. You'd totally lose.
We'd totally lose.
But I'd make you complete every lap.
It's a 50-lap race.
50. Just ours.
I'm not pushing you. Yeah. I don't do leg day. We talked about this.
That's why
7 years later.
Oh, man. Oh, dear.
Oh. Well, gentlemen, I appreciate you both. Chewy, what was your beef? Did you have a beef? You said you had a beef.
People who stop at the exact same time as me on a four-way stop. And I'm in a bigger car than they are, and they tell me, yeah, come on.
Yeah.
And every single time I'm like, okay. And then I go, and then they go, and then I have to stop, and they have to stop. I hate when people get there at the exact same time.
I was trying to be polite to you.
Well, you know.
Katie hates that too because she worked in insurance, so she's very much like the right of way. Whoever's
right.
She knows the law. Me, I'm just like, you, me, you, me. We going here? What are we doing here? What about you, Ricky?
Hey, shout out last night to the ginger. What was her name that was running the clock?
She just
Jenna.
walked in.
Jenna.
She got a new nickname today.
Oh, no.
Jeez.
But she was running.
She's gonna walk back out the door.
she was running the clock. If
Yeah, she
anyone
did a
was
good
watching,
job
She did a good job.
Yeah, she was behind.
You'd see her in the background there.
You know what? This is actually going to talk about her a little bit. I was talking to her beforehand, and she's excited because it's the first election she gets to vote in.
Oh yeah.
You know, and she's really interested in last night because she wanted to know more about each of the candidates to decide how she's going to cast her first vote.
Yeah.
So I was really excited about that. Like, getting to talk to her a little bit, and so
she also wants to get into criminal justice.
Yeah.
So she was even more interested in it. All right. Well, the music is come and gone, so that is the end of the show. They tell me. On the other side, it is Reliable Rentals Swap and Shop. We appreciate you tuning in this morning to the starting lineup. This is ESPN Radio 1340 1069 WCDT Winchester.
The starting lineup with Joe and Chewy is presented by Loco in Winchester. Right here in Winchester, Loco is doing things their own way. From locally roasted Loco coffee to a one-of-a-kind shop experience. It's a place that's built for the Franklin County community. So if you haven't stopped by yet, now's the time. Support local. Drink Loco coffee, fueling Franklin County mornings. Roasted right here in Franklin County. And don't forget to tune into the starting lineup, weekdays from 7 to 9.
Any idea how many hot dogs are consumed?
Oh.
How many glizzies are gobbled on the 4th of July? Hold my beer and give me that hot dog.
It's a good thing that they're not made of real meat. We would run out of animal. I don't know. What are hot dogs even made of?
Has anybody figured that out yet?
Do you want to know?
Slurry? Is that a meat? Not everything that can be done should be done. The glizzy gobbling competition.
I hate it when you call it that, by the way.
Just shoveling
Meat rockets in your mouth. I mean, it's foul.
It is the starting lineup.
It's time for a community calendar update presented by Minuteman Press in Tullahoma.
Here's what's coming up in Franklin County. Franklin County residents are invited to attend Partnering with Government Workshop number 3 on Thursday, July 9th at 6 p.m. in the Franklin County Annex Community Room. The workshop will focus on managing Franklin County's growth and providing an update for the proposed 2027 county budget, along with discussions on planning, zoning, economic development, and industrial recruiting. On Saturday, June 11th, the Fraternal Order of Police Harris Mitchell Lodge number 56 will host a Franklin County Candidates Town Hall from 4 to 8:30 p.m. at the Franklin County Farmers Pavilion. The event offers an opportunity to hear directly from candidates, ask questions, and meet members of the community. Food trucks and vendors will also be on site. Parents will still have time to register their children for the Winchester Parks and Recreation Summer Sports Camp scheduled for July 13th through the 17th at Winchester City Park. The camp is open to children ages 5 through 12 and features instruction in soccer, softball, basketball, volleyball, pickleball, and disc golf. Organizers say that this is the last week to check for available openings before camp begins. Also, Sunday, July 12th, Thurgood Church of Christ in Cowan will host a one-day gospel meeting. Sunday school begins at 10 a.m., followed by morning worship at 11.